People always ask me, does your dog have a spleen? No, he does not. This is the story of how Nugget's spleen exploded. It was probably a year and a half ago. It was a very normal day and we went on a lunchtime walk. After that, he seemed pretty sleepy, which again is very standard. He was 10 or 11 at this stage, so not the youngest dog in the world. We started to notice something might be a little bit wrong in the evening when he still was a bit lethargic, especially he wasn't super enthusiastic when my partner came home the way he normally is. He was pretty confined to his bed, didn't really want to get up. He does eat a lot of food that he shouldn't on walks. It's something we've tried to work with, but he's very quick. So I kind of assumed it was that situation and that he had an upset stomach. He does have a very sensitive stomach. He's prone to upset if he eats anything. So we kind of kept an eye on him, but it didn't seem that bad probably until the next morning when he still wasn't any better, was getting slower and more lethargic. So we booked in first appointment we could get at our local vet. Luckily, they always make room for people in emergencies. So we were able to jump in pretty quick, I think, yeah, 7 a.m., and took him to that vet. They did an ultrasound and found that his spleen had fully exploded. There must have been a cyst or something in there that had grown super large and just exploded the whole thing. So they told me he needs to have surgery now or he will die same day. So there was not really an option of do this or do this. It was do this or that's it. Um, we discussed other options in terms of like what's the outcome going to look like for him, what are his odds, all of that sort of stuff. We did discuss financials, but that wasn't really a concern for me. It was going to happen either way. And then they took him out the back, and I had to come home. And I ended up just working, taking it easy because you don't really want to sit and think about that. So it was good to have a distraction. Luckily, I heard the news, I'm pretty sure a few hours later, that the surgery went fine. They were able to remove every bit of it, and he was recovering in the cages. He We picked him up at around, I'd say 5, 6-ish, 5:30, I want to say, and brought him home. He was stoned like you would not believe. Very typical of the dogs that are stoned, sort of leaning and falling asleep and not really paying attention. Um, that became a problem because he is a 24-kilo dog at the worst of times, 22 at the best of times. So he's pretty big, and we realized this was a problem when we got into the downstairs car park and found that we couldn't get him out of the car. He didn't know how to jump down. We couldn't figure out a way to lift him because he had a giant scar on his stomach, so we obviously didn't want to touch that. Um, and we tried a few things, making little stairs out of boxes for him to make it easier. He didn't want to move. He just slept down there. I think we stayed down there for about 40 minutes trying to coax him out or just chilling with him if we thought he might be a little bit overwhelmed, just letting him sleep in the car. He seemed fine. He wasn't really reacting to anything negatively. He was just so stoned. It ended up taking my partner's brother coming over and him and I going to other ends of the car park where Nugget couldn't see us and calling out to him, and that's when he got the energy to jump out easy as. But that was very funny. Once we got him up into the house, he was pretty fine. Literally the next day, he wanted to go for a walk once the drugs had worn off, and he was mildly sick, but that was it. The tough part was definitely waiting for the results of the cyst or the growth. So they had to send it off, and they said it was probably a 70% chance that it was going to be cancerous, which would mean blood cancer, which is just a very short life sentence for them. The good news was that in about 2 weeks, we found out it was just a random tumor. He's just always growing, always developing. And in this case, it was a cyst, but it was benign. So now he's got a normal lifespan. He's totally fine. Dogs can live without their spleens, and I don't really know what a spleen does anyway. Yeah, he was fine by the next day. He wanted to go for walks, even though he was still super tired. So just taking him out to do his business, he would be puffed from that, but nothing's going to stop him. And now he's still trucking along. You can't see him. He is right here. There he is. And that's the story of why my dog doesn't have a spleen. I will no longer take any further questions about this.